What's on Tap was created in response to the systemic shock our industry was facing due to COVID-19. We wanted to compile resources, shine a light on the good things the industry was doing for one another, provide a sense of camaraderie during the time of separation, and help raise funding for those in need. Little did we know 2020 had something else up its sleeve. While many of us were hunkered down from the pandemic, the video of the murder of George Floyd at the hands of police officers came to light. Already on the heels of other high-profile injustices against Black people, the Black Lives Matter movement swelled like never before. TappedIn, the creators of the What's on Tap video podcast, posted on social media a declaration that we wanted to stop, listen, empathize, and act on this issue. This is our listening phase. We decided to pause our coronavirus-focused podcast episodes and listen to what it is like to be Black in the hospitality industry. The next few episodes will be a series of interviews with people who have these unique and personal perspectives. We are seeking to better understand how our Black brothers and sisters in the hospitality industry might experience life differently. We are committed to listening with an open mind and asking questions with answers that might make us uncomfortable, so we can learn and grow. And if you have your own personal stories of being Black in the hospitality industry, we would love to hear from you. Please send a note to whatsontap@gettappedin.io, or leave a comment on our social media, or DM us on Instagram @get_tapped. We were lucky enough to record the first episode in this series on Juneteenth at the only active Black-owned brewery in Illinois, Black Horizon Brewing Company in Willowbrook. We sat down with Charles St. Clair, co-owner of Black Horizon, and Hope Johnson, a longtime service industry professional with experience in Chicago and the Baltimore-area. We appreciate their willingness to share with us their experiences, thoughts, and recommendations on how we can better support this community.
All right, Hope, Charles, thank you both for being here. TappedIn created What's on Tap to address the situation that the hospitality industry was facing in COVID. And as that wanes, as we kind of move on to some of the next phases, we decided we need to address what's next for us and what we wanted to do. And one of the most important things affecting our world right now, beyond hospitality, beyond bars and restaurants finally opening back up to some limited capacity, is what's happening with the Black Lives Matter movement and all the unnecessary deaths that have happened that we really highlighted. And although it was kind of a third rail topic, I thought it was something that we needed to address, and we wanted to address it in a way that was really focused on the hospitality industry. There's a lot of things we can talk about that are big, important topics, but how's this affecting the hospitality industry? And I like to think of the hospitality industry as a very inclusive industry, but then I stopped and thought maybe it's not nearly as I might have thought. So the goal here is to listen. I know I spoke a lot here. The goal really is to get your guys' feedback, and the topic is Black in the hospitality industry. So let's go around and introduce ourselves. Hope, you first, and then Charles. Just who you are, how long you've been in the industry, where you've worked, including the cities, because I know you've been around the block in a few different cities.
Yes, my name is Hope Johnson. I grew up in Highland Park, Illinois. My first job in the industry was actually right down the street at the Denny's in Willowbrook on 83. That was my very first job. I have been in the industry for 18 years. So
you're about 31 now?
Yeah. 31 for the first time. Mm-hmm.
Well, where else? I know you've been regularly. You've been Baltimore. You've been to Texas.
Didn't work in Texas. I'm sure we can touch on that later. Some racism there. I've also worked in Annapolis. I was at an Irish bar for about 2 years, up until Monday.
Thank you. Charles.
I don't even know where to go. Charles St. Clair. I'm born in St. St. Louis, Missouri, raised in Waukegan, Illinois. Keegan in the house for all my boys back in Waukegan. I currently live in Darien, Illinois. I am one of the founders and co-owners of Black Horizon Brewing Company. My partners are Kevin and Alex. My introduction to the service industry was working as a bouncer and then as a bartender at C.O. Daniels in Champaign. I went to University of Illinois, and also at Cam's in Champaign as well. So that's where I started.
Hold that against you.
Yeah, well, you're a Badger. But enough said.
Den rivalry is fun. And so we are actually here at your brewery.
Yes. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm excited to do this podcast.
Great. And so Black Horizon Brewery is the only black-owned brewery in Illinois, correct?
The only active.
Right.
So Englewood is trying to get their legs underneath them, and I'm hoping everything works out for that brewery because it is truly in an underserved community, and I'm just sending love and prayer and wishes their way. Leslie Roth.
Leslie, we're rooting for you.
Yes, we are rooting for you. Yes, we are. Yeah, it's kind of sad that.
It's 2020.
It's 2020, and we started in 2017 when we opened our doors, and that it's taken this long, and that there aren't more, and I don't know. It's just, of course, I'm honored that a lot of breweries like the Veil have put us on their Facebook, Instagram feed, marking us as one of the black-owned breweries in America, as well as the I think the Black Bourbon Drinkers Society also named us as one of the black-owned breweries in the Midwest, and I'm sure that was a very short list, very, very short list, and it's a little disappointing. But what can I do?
16 nationwide.
You know what? I did not look at the number because I stay away from the social medias because I might say I have an anger issue. So
you're black in America.
Yeah.
You're black in the world. That's
exactly.
all.
I just don't want to get riled up and don't want to focus on that. I don't want to focus on the negativity. I'm all about being positive. So I'm going to trust you that there are 60.
I believe it was because I posted an article, reposted it, that I saw probably the one that listed all the ones in there, and you guys were on the list. And I worked with your partner, Kevin, 12 years ago.
Raw Sushi.
Yes. Another Raw Sushi. So when I reposted, that was one of our most commented on, the most, the people had nothing but great things to say about you guys as your beer and just as your hospitality.
Oh, so, good. Awesome.
That's awesome.
Very well respected in the community.
Well, we just try and make people feel comfortable when they walk in the door. We just lose all the can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Lose all the bullshit when you walk in the door, and just be here, be welcome, be part of Black Horizon. Enjoy the company of the diverse crowd that's around us here, and I have noticed since the whole riots and the protesting that we have had a very appreciable uptick in African Americans stopping into our brewery. So anybody out there that's spreading the word, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Keep doing that. Keep supporting black-owned businesses, and I'm just honored.
Great, and I don't know nothing about Willowbrook necessarily. I haven't spent any time here. How is diversity in the community around here?
I'm typically the only African American I see in the area driving around, but we're here as far as businesses. Okay, maybe not so many, but. It is the western suburbs.
Right.
It is the Chicagoland area. Chicago, one of the most segregated cities in the United States. Hands down. And you get the Austin area, you have the Englewood area, you have all the black areas, and then you have the white areas. I've lived both out in the suburbs. I've lived downtown. I've lived up in the northern suburbs. So. When I say things are segregated, they truly are segregated. But I do have to say that I've not personally experienced a lot of racism in Chicago, and I drive all over. I'm all over Chicagoland, and I've never been just pulled over for no reason or anything like that. I haven't experienced that, so I guess that's a bonus.
Sure.
I can say that it doesn't happen randomly, especially to me, and I'm happy for that, because I'd kind of get a little chatty when I'm pissed off. So that may not be a good thing for me to be stopped, but. So I just have to say I've had a positive experience here in Chicago and here in Willowbrook, and the Darien area and Hinsdale area. I lived in Hinsdale for a few years, so it's just mostly people see you as an anomaly, and they're mostly curious. They mostly think you're an athlete or a former athlete.
I mean, you're not a small dude either. I mean,
well, I'm a fat dude. That's what I am now right now. Well, round is a shape. But that's the first thing. Where'd you play ball, or where'd you? Well, I went to Illinois. I got a degree in journalism.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So.
You're into technology too. That's
and then I'm a network engineer for a law firm. So then. Really, their jaw drops like another 3 levels. They're like,
they're disappointed they were going to ask for an autograph.
Exactly, So, yeah, and I was. Here's a funny story. I'm handing out candy, Halloween, Hinsdale. It's big. It was a sizable house or whatever. And the kid, I was handing out candy on Halloween, and then I hear later on that all the kids thought I was some famous baseball player, and I'm like. Which one? And it hasn't been negative. Like I said, most people are just curious. They look at you, they stare, like you're a ghost, or I don't know what. They just like a fish out of water. Like a fish walking on 2 feet. That's pretty much what it is. Because they're like, well, this isn't over. And then they talk to you, and then, oh my God, this guy's intelligent. He's got something to say. He's
well spoken.
Spoken, yes. Thank you, Hope. I was just. He's so well spoken, and that just makes me laugh.
Thinking it's a compliment.
That's racist as shit. Make that stop. I'm sorry.
And it's like one of the worst things. Well, what else would I be?
Yeah.
Why are you judging me by these other standards? So, yeah, but that's been my whole experience. I'm sure Hope has had.
I've been pulled over by the police unnecessarily for not doing anything, not speeding, leaving my job, leaving a restaurant job. I lived in the city. I still had an address in Highland Park when I lived in Highland Park, Illinois. I refused to change my driver's license because I felt afraid. And there was one night I was pulled over. 2 cops pulled me over. I came to a complete stop. I know exactly what I did because it was late. I pulled over by 2. I was terrified. They looked at my driver's license. They ran it, and they came right back. They didn't say why they pulled me over. They didn't do any of that. So it does happen. And it's not male only, but...
Well, that's... You're in town for a couple of days, and when I found out, I'm like, I hope it'd be perfect for this episode.
Thank you.
We talked last night. You're leaving tomorrow, so thanks for squeezing us in.
Of course, you're welcome.
It is really interesting that we spoke about your experience in Chicago versus Baltimore, the Annapolis area where you're at now. But tell us about what your experiences have been as a Black woman, and going back from your early days to what you're even experiencing or have experienced recently at your current past job.
From when I started to now, you start to see more brown faces behind the stick, period. When I first started 18 years ago, 15 years ago, if I'm going out to a bar, if you're going out downtown, unless you're going out to a black themed night, you wouldn't necessarily see black bartenders in white spaces. There are times even at the black themed events or nights at some of these clubs or bars, you're still not seeing black faces there. I didn't see myself in the bar industry. quick sidebar, Joe and I have known each other for, a long time through the industry and through his sister. I worked at Yard House in the Glen, and he worked at Raw, and we know same people, and so on and so forth. So the world is definitely small. But I was kind of touching on last night some things that I think I was rather kind of explicit about. So, shall you say, Joe? How would you put it?
Well, you wouldn't be a shy girl. It definitely wasn't the SH.
It's to put things delicately, because not everybody can always palate what it is that you have to say. And I'm not here to make things palatable, but I do want people to listen.
So tell us about hiring. You said you've gone around when you were looking for gigs.
I moved to Baltimore 2 years ago. I had been in IT change management. I had been laid off. I took some time off, a lot of loss in the family, so on and so forth. I moved to the suburbs of Annapolis, and I decided I wanted to get back in the hospitality industry. I wanted to make some money. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to have fun. And I applied at least 10 or 12 different places. Now, mind you, so 2 years ago, I've been in the industry 16 years. I'm not fat. I'm not ugly. I'm female. What's the problem?
Usually it's a pretty good recipe to get hired.
I only got a call from one place. I've spent so much time trying to say that things aren't racist. I spend so much time trying to say that I've done a good job, and I don't want to use racism as an excuse. But now today it's glaringly obvious. People are coming out with their stories and their experiences. And people are racist as shit. Like, why don't you want me behind your bar? I'm intelligent, I know things, I study, I'm well-spoken. You know what I mean? Like, what's not to like?
And these are places that were posting for that they're hiring.
Exactly. I didn't just show up.
Just like, no, we don't need her.
I didn't go looking in scrubs. I looked up I did my work as I do before any job interview. I do the work. I look them up. It's a lot of times been places that I had been before. I also have this thing where I don't want to apply to a job while I'm drinking. So I'll go on a different day or a different time. I want to check the place out myself, see how they treat people, see what the atmosphere is like, see what the drinks look like. So yeah, it's been, I mean, that's not to say that I didn't get hired and it wasn't fun and there's places that won't hire you, but one callback out of all of that and you're hiring, I don't know, something doesn't smell right.
You've got as good of a resume as anybody that would have been a one. Like, you've been around the block, done.
Right, and even following up or stopping back again, it's not to be derogatory, but it's a restaurant job. I have the experience. I'm a body. It's not that complicated. If you're not sure, how about you have me in for an interview? Oh, okay.
And that was the only place, the one that hired you is the only one that called you back for an interview at all.
Absolutely, yeah. I did an initial interview then, they initially said that they're hired, but places say that, and I called back when I was told to call back, and the manager knew exactly who I was, and the manager had pulled my file to talk to them. That's how it should be, right? When you go in to apply for a place, like, someone relays the message because they see that you are a viable candidate, and then that happens.
And that follow-up is huge. Out of the number of applications that I get, even for an intern.
Yes.
I made my last intern hire based on, there's 3 candidates that I thought were all pretty comparable. Only one of them sent a follow-up message saying thanking me for the time and looking forward.
Gotta do that.
That was it. So you're even doing that, so you're you should be on this very short list.
Thank you. Yeah. It's not. Should be. I mean, it's not fine. I'm not applying to places that are fine dining. Do you know what I mean? I could understand if it's extreme fine dining. I don't have a ton of fine dining experience. If I was applying to those places and you're not hiring me, I got it. These are bars. Like pubs and bars. That's what I've always worked at.
But that begs another question, too. I mean, I go to Gibson's, I go to Hugo's Frog Bar downtown. I go to the finer dining places. When have I ever had a black server?
I've never. When I lived here, that's what I'm saying. I still don't see myself reflected You will see us in the bathroom as bathroom attendants.
Bathroom attendant or back of the house. Not even, not a bartender. Definitely not a bartender. Like in the kitchen, maybe washing a dish or two.
In Maryland, I see black people in the kitchen. Here, I've never worked. It's always been Latino, specifically Mexican.
Yep.
Years ago, maybe 30 years ago, black people still did back of the house kind of stuff, or bussers, but now it's definitely
Rotated out.
yeah, bathroom attendant only.
So Charles, tell me about, I mean, you were bartending and bouncing in Champaign.
Oh yeah, I was like the only one. Literally like the only one. There's Cochran's, there's Cam's, there's C.O. Daniels. Cochran's, maybe you had a couple of 2, 3 maybe black bouncers or whatever. But as far as bartenders or management, yeah, no.
Did black people apply to those positions, though?
I'm sure they did. And that's the funny thing, too, about University of Illinois. A very segregated campus. The blacks hung with the blacks. The whites hung with the whites. My experience was different because I came to the University of Illinois after I was in the Army. I was stationed at Fort Bragg for 3 years. So literally, like, I finished Fort Bragg. I drove to Champaign, and I moved into the dorms. And then I started my tenure at the University of Illinois. So
Seen some things.
I've seen some things. I've done some things. This is back. That was back in the late '80s. But yeah, so the blacks that you have that you had at the University of Illinois, a lot of them were from the south side of Chicago, major metropolitan areas, things like that, and it was fairly cliquish. You know, they blacks hung with the blacks, whites hung with the whites. Me, I was in the military. I dealt with both sides of the fence, so I didn't care. I was just about making money and getting paid and having a job, so I could fall into either world. I had friends in both worlds. I was in a fraternity while I was down at the University of Illinois, Pi Kappa Alpha. It was like one of the whitest of the white fraternities down there, and but I went into that fraternity because I was a doorman at C.O. Daniels, and a lot of the guys used to come and play foosball. I love playing foosball. And they played soccer too, so I'm a huge soccer fan, and so that's what drew me into the house. Nothing else, nothing other than that. And then they were all nice guys. It was a good time or whatever. But that's that's what I did. It wasn't because I identified with them because of what they did.
It wasn't the color, it's the activity. You wanted to play foosball, and that shit seems pretty awesome.
Foosball and soccer, hey, we can get down. Yeah, we can get down with this. So I was a pike. No, we and after that, subsequently, we hired a few more pikes that worked at the bar, and one of the bartenders that was there, my buddy Giacomo, he was a pike as well. So that introduced me to the culture of pikes. If they're accepting of me. I'd never experienced any racism, any derogatory happenings there. The funny thing is, during my pledge ship, I got called up for Desert Storm while I was pledged, like right when my pledge ship started. And so I went to San Antonio for however many months or whatever. I didn't get deployed overseas, but I did my, stint here in the United States in San Antonio. But when I came back, they just made me an active member. So,
I mean, I can't imagine some sophomore. First of all, you're older than most.
Oh yeah, I was like way older than most of them.
Experience and trying to all the rush things that they make you do and stuff like that.
And the thing is, I didn't have to I didn't have to go through that. That was the great thing. I didn't have to go through all that bullshit because I got called up, and then when I got back, they just made me inactive. So. Because I don't know how I would have reacted if they had made me do all that pledge bullshit. I would be like, seriously?
You're like, I was, what I was doing, right? Well, I wasn't here. I wasn't just.
I was just at Fort Bragg, and now I just got called up for Desert Storm. So
interestingly enough, now a big thing is about renaming Fort Bragg. That's one of the ones.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. All right. So here's my take on all the renaming and the Confederate statues and stuff like that. Who glorifies the loser? What other nation in the world glorifies the loser? Not just the loser, the treasonous loser. Who? Why? Why would you do that? You would do that because you want to intimidate a people. Because those Confederate statues didn't start going up until the 40s. After the 40s, they didn't go up at the end of the Confederacy.
I never thought about that.
They didn't go up until people wanted to desegregate and civil rights, and the blacks wanted equal treatment. That's when those statues started going up, to intimidate people. Because just think about it. After World War II, are there any statues to Nazi heroes in Germany? No, it's illegal. It's illegal to display Nazi propaganda or symbolism. It's illegal, and it should be illegal in the United States to display the Confederate flag, because those people fought against a democratically elected government. They killed Americans. And as the North, fought against the South, they killed Americans too, but those were Americans trying to overthrow their government. These are treasonous individuals. And the whole battle flag that they fly, the cross stars, those are the losers. You lost the war. You do not get to exist in history. Except as a footnote. Except as a footnote, you lost. You tried, you lost. You were for slavery. And I was at Fort Bragg for 3 years, 1986 through 1989.
Your feelings would not be heard if they changed.
I would not give a high-flying shit if the name of that base changed.
Was this an issue at all when you were there?
No. There wasn't the whole polarization of left and right. I didn't even know that Fort Bragg was named after somebody on the losing side. You're going to put a base in the South with General Washington's name or a Civil War hero, like from the North. You can't name a base that in the South because the tensions. They're still bitter. Why are you still bitter?
Enjoying this conversation? Don't forget to subscribe to be alerted to future episodes. What's on Tap is brought to you by TappedIn, a restaurant marketing solution company dedicated to making restaurateurs' lives easier and their businesses more successful. If you are interested in seeing how we can help, head over to gettappedin.io to find out more.
So getting back to the hospitality industry then, I hope you've worked at how many different places? 5, 10?
8, maybe?
And how many of them were you the only black person, or especially in the front of the house, perhaps?
So front of the house, my first job was Denny's. I was the only. My second job was Cubby Bear North. I was the only. My little sister worked with me for a little bit. I was not the first, but I maybe the third, maybe. To my knowledge, yes. I mean, okay, maybe fifth. If I asked someone to do some deep digging, they're no longer open. I went to a small restaurant in Deerfield. I was definitely the only one there. Yard House, there were 2 of us for a while, and then there was just me. I may have been the first female at that location. I'm not really sure. First black female, at Yard House. The Irish pub that I just got laid off from is, I believe I was the 3rd black female to work there. There are some gentlemen that do the door for larger events, but there was no overlap.
And so what is that like? What is that experience like? Do you feel out of place, or are you used to it? Is it, I really have no clue what that would be like. I've never been in that position.
It's not I've always been the only. I grew up in Highland Park. I was the only black student in my graduating junior high and high school classes. My little sister who graduated 3 years after me, it was the same thing for her. I've known nothing else. That doesn't mean I don't know when people are kind of being snide or shitty, but because I have been the only, I never wanted to let my race be an excuse. You just keep going. You don't want to use that as an excuse. You don't, even though now I'm finding out that a lot of the experiences I had were definitely maybe, we'll say, shittily, racially motivated. I had this one manager, and I was closing one night late with him and another manager, and I had this feeling, I don't know, he was kind of shitty. He would just like kind of treat me shitty, but not enough for me to say anything. And he had been drinking, and one night he said, because I was there before he had come back, he had been there before because he knew the owner, he said something to the effect of, I was surprised to see that they had hired something like one like you or one of your kind or something like that to let me know, but he wouldn't say black, and he kind of went into saying that he wouldn't have hired me if he said those words, that he wouldn't have hired me if he had been the one to interview me. And it was literally because of my race. So, and that doesn't mean that every experience is like that. I love working in the industry. You don't do something for 18 years that you absolutely abhor, but that also doesn't mean that it's been all like, cocktails and stuff the whole time. Yeah, it's definitely not like that. People talk to you shitty, but I wanted my job. I did a good job. He wasn't the only manager. I've had schedules changed. I've had managers decide that they don't want a black girl behind the bar, and I've only been put on the server schedule. I want my job. I want to make money. You don't say anything. Because what are they going to? They're going to fire me. I'm replaceable. And they don't want me there anyway, so you stay. To annoy the shit out of them every day. You stay.
Charles, have you dealt with anything similar? Like maybe you got the job at the bouncing, and then you eventually worked up bartending. Do you think it took longer than it should have, or were you actually pretty lucky on that?
No, actually, I was very lucky on that. The guy that hired me, Ken, he'd been in the bar industry in Champaign for a while, and I went in, I applied, and I got hired. I don't know if it was because I was 6'2", but I was skinny as fuck back then. Ignore this. Take about 100 pounds off of this. That's what I was. I was flaco, and but I did not feel any of that. And I can truly say that the entire time that I worked there as a doorman and then as a bartender, I never had an issue. I never, ever had an issue dealing with race. I did not get along with this guy Cope that we used to work with, and we just bumped heads for some reason. He was a manager, and then that's why I got fired, because we bumped heads one night on New Year's Eve, and it was what it was. I thought he was a dick, and he was taking too long to close out, and it was New Year's Eve, and we were trying to get out and go, do our thing on New Year's Eve, and so, but I don't look at it as, none of it was racial. I got along with everybody, all the doormen, all the bartenders, and some of our doormen were football players at Illinois, and they're still good friends to this day, and all the bartenders, they were sweethearts. Male bartenders, female bartenders, the DJ, Scott Struber was one of the DJs, and he's moved on in the world, but got along with them all. No racial tension whatsoever. So I would say that was definitely the anomaly. But I was the only one the whole time that I worked there, and I was in Illinois from 1989 to 1994. I didn't work at Cochran's the whole time. I finished my career at Cam's. And again, at Cam's, I was definitely the only black one. I've lived in Lincoln Park, the Lincoln Park area. I've gone to all the bars. I rarely saw us in any of these places. I was always the one in the bar. And you know, black people have a running joke when you go in the bar, you see another black person in the bar, you're like, hey dude, it's my turn to be here.
They sag them out.
It's you know, come on now, it's my night. What are you doing? Yeah, what are you doing? You fucking up my schedule. Yeah, exactly. So and it's sad that has to be the joke. That I'm the token that's supposed to be here. And you know, because I think things would rapidly change if there were more black faces in.
I think we need that here in Chicagoland.
You know, and I don't know if it'd be a positive or a negative way if people get angry because there's more black faces now, or it'd be like, oh, finally we got more black faces. We're just on that tipping point where you just don't know which way it's gonna go, and then they'll be like, oh, I'm not going to that bar anymore. There's so many black people have taken over, and then there goes that bar. So, you know, like we're the ruiners. Like, you know, black has so much negativity attached to it that, you know.
Anytime there's a black person there, if there's more than one, then it suddenly becomes a black thing or a black space, and then white people want to exit it. They don't want to be there because they don't want our blackness to touch them, or suddenly it's a black thing and they can't possibly handle all the melanin in the room or something. I don't know.
Or they're threatened by the black masculinity because, you know, all their, you know, we're there to take their women, you know, blazing saddles.
And don't get it twisted, some of us chocolate drop girls are there to take their men too, so, or whatever you like. So.
Exactly. So you got that toxic masculinity, and you know, no, I am not there where the white women at. You know, I'm just there to drink. Yeah.
Because you're a human being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just in a space. You know, don't worry about your girlfriend. I'm not worried about her. She wasn't good looking anyway. So.
What has your experience been with, like, obviously you had some issues with getting hired or getting interviewed, but once you're in there, do you have...
I get along with everyone. If there's somebody I didn't get along with, that, like, staff-wise, has never been because of race. That has never happened. I believe most of my friends are people who I've worked in the industry with, or friends of friends through the industry. They're industry people. I think overall, I would say that it's extremely welcoming. I've gone to Paris, I've gone to Seattle, I've gone, not a lot of places, but I've gone a couple places in the world and known similar people or done something similar and literally made lifetime friends. People who've taken me in or shown me a thing or shown me this place and given me the hospitality. So it's unfortunate that I have had those racist experiences. I just want to be open about it. But again, to be in the industry for over 18 years, you don't do that if someone is really treating you awful all the time.
And I guess that's probably what my perception was, because I see it from a very inclusive,
it's extremely inclusive.
But there's the gatekeepers, it sounds like, maybe that really maybe preventing more black people from being in this club.
Absolutely. The white males are the kind of like linchpin. They're the ones. It's your fault. Okay, yeah, I'm blaming you. No, but I mean, those are the ones. Those are the people in power and that are hiring and that have access. And also, the other side is the managers that have hired me have been all white males, and I've gotten along with them great. I speak to or through social media, have contact with almost all the GMs that I've worked for.
The ones that seem to be hiring seem to be just like people or not.
Or they've been exposed and worked with black people before. I was an event manager, and the manager that hired me was from, I believe, worked in Dearborn, Michigan. Like, he grew up next, like, it's nothing for him to see somebody black. He didn't think about it in the same way that people do here. So yeah, he hired me. Maybe he did look at my color, I don't know. You can't help but see it, but I didn't get the impression at the interview that there was an issue because of my race. It sounds possibly insane to say that, but being black, you have a spidey sense. You know when people are following you, you know when people are looking at you funny, you may not want to call it race, you may not even say it, but you'll at least say that person's looking at me funny, or they're uncomfortable with my blackness in this space, and I didn't get that from the people that have hired me.
Now, here's the interesting question. What about the Karens of the world? What about the customers? Have you guys had any negative experiences?
So the customer is always right, and we're in the hospitality industry. I will not be abused by a guest ever.
Whatever reason.
I can't think of I'm sure maybe I've had one. I've not had an overtly racial experience with a guest. I've just had shithead guests. And maybe they're acting like shitheads because of my race, but there was no type of verbal altercation or anything talking about my race, at least not to my face or that I knew of. Yeah, but you can put Karens in their place and still be classy and respectful and let them know that they're assholes. That's the fun of being in the industry for so long. You can see a Karen sometimes and just treat her, you know.
Yeah, I would say I've not experienced that either. I haven't had it.
You get at a bar where everyone's shit-faced and...
No, not even then. I've not. Funny thing is, back in the day, back in the 90s, the late 90s, I remember my buddies who, maybe even get into an altercation at the bar or whatever, and they moved outside. Nobody would want to fight me because I'm like, I was ready to go, but
you were a Flacco at the time.
Yeah, I was Flacco at the time, and they still would not fight me, and I'm like, why won't you fight me? I want to. But so it was never racial. But I would say even here at the brewery, most when they come in, they don't do their research. They don't know I'm an owner. I'm just a bartender when they walk in the door. So most people come in with that thought in their head, oh, there's a black bartender. I haven't experienced any racism.
So what about, we're here to listen and understand. We did a post actually around the Blackout Tuesday. And I talked to our social media manager, I don't want this to be just like trendy, like everyone's doing it, so we have to do it. What else can we do? And so this is, this stems from that.
I would say say what you feel. Don't just post it and just throw it up there, but add some words to it.
Well, the next day we said there's 4 words: there's stop, listen, empathize, and act. And we're on the listening phase. We stop, like, all right, maybe it's not as inclusive as we thought. Maybe there are bigger problems. I think everyone knew that there was problems, but how big of a problem is it? So it's like this whole riot thing for us is like to stop, like let's reevaluate if there is a problem, and there is. So now we're on phase 2. Let's just listen. What can we be doing better? Let's understand the plight of other people and maybe the experiences that they've had.
Now, you use the word empathize. Now, one of the things I know, but one of the things I learned as a journalist is the difference between empathy and sympathy.
Yeah.
Sympathy is feeling for someone. Empathy is feeling with someone. If you're feeling with someone, that means you're experiencing the same things that they're experiencing. Yeah. So that's not kind of right.
Okay.
So I'd say sympathy. You feel for them, sure. Because unless you've experienced what they experience, you can't empathize. And that just struck a note.
I mean,
or something similar to what they've experienced.
I never claimed to feel anything that you felt or hope is felt, but for me personally, I wrote that post. It was about coming alongside those that hurt and sharing their pain. And you can do that if somebody lost a friend, a sister, a dog. You don't have to feel the pain to empathize. I think you just come alongside. You're born with somebody. And you feel the hurt. You just allow yourself just to absorb as much as you can. You don't have to say.
You don't have to react, right? Yeah. You can be in that moment with that person and their anger and their sadness. And I think it's really important the way that you say you can just be with someone, right? Because sometimes people are yelling and they're angry, and people mistake that for them being yelled at instead of someone just expressing their emotion or facts or whatever it is, expressing something. And people internalize it, but it's not necessarily about that specific person. I think that's really important to just be with someone when they're hurting or attempt to hear what they're saying. I mean, it might make you uncomfortable and good, and that's where the change starts to happen, the growth starts to happen.
Yeah, I think trying to understand what somebody's going through and to, and to see the history.
And believe people. Like sweeping stuff under the rug, like things, I didn't say a lot of things, and or if I did, things got swept under the rug. Oh, just like, oh, don't worry about it. Oh, it's okay. That's not really happening. That's not a racist event. That's not a sexist event. Those things aren't happening. No, 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 no. So that's like victim shaming almost. You know what I mean? You don't want to hear I don't want to be seen as a victim, but those are the terms that we're familiar with.
And I feel like some people are scared to accept it.
Oh yeah, yes.
And so this is where I really want this whole part is like to say, just listen. You don't have to disagree or agree. Just listen. Stop. Listen.
That's the point. That's the
great.
That has half of the conversation is listening. And
sometimes, and I think now, I'm going to be frank, a lot of white people need to do probably about 99% of the listening. Way less talking needs to be happening. There's people trying to define what the movement is. There's people that are putting their input, and it's really frustrating and aggravating. A lot more listening, please.
Perhaps even hijacking the movement.
That's what I was going to say. Don't hijack our anger.
Yeah.
Just understand where it's coming from. Listen. And do your best to affect change. Just the whole pay it forward thing. You teach the next generation that hate sucks. Hate doesn't work. Racism is not in conjunction with capitalism. Because if you ostracize a portion of society, that's money that, as a capitalist, you're not getting. So not letting the whole Jim Crow laws, not letting blacks into the lunch counters or drink at the same water fountains. Well, that's not capitalism, but just keeping blacks out of the equation, that's money you're losing. And it does not make sense in a capitalist society.
Do you think capitalism actually is good for anti-racism because of the fact?
Absolutely not. Capitalism was built on the backs of black people. Backs, fronts, our bodies. We are capitalism. We started capitalism. We are capital. We were brought here as capital on ships. Period. We are capitalism. Sorry. Our culture is the most copied. It's raped, it's perverted, it's copied, and no credit goes to us. Cultural misappropriation every day. Black girls with white girls with big booties going tanning, wrapping their hair, braiding their hair, wearing baby wraps. That's just the beginning. I can't even think of everything else. That's just like a tiny, tiny segment. We are capitalism. We make y'all's money. We are the money. Fuck y'all, pay us. I mean, it's just facts. We are the capital. We started capitalism.
A perverted sense of the capitalism, yes.
Of course it's perverted. It's on lives of other people, like that's terrifying to think of, right? I think that most people will say, regardless of the cover, that to keep another human being and to mistreat them, think about how outraged we get when we see someone pull their dog too hard on a leash. Think about how you freak out. That is a dog.
Yeah,
I have a dog.
People are more concerned about their dogs than they are about how a black person is treated. They are more concerned about foo-foo being inconvenienced than a black person being inconvenienced. I'm using air quotes for those that can't see it. Inconvenienced, shot, humiliated, whatever. That's not important to them. Foo-foo is more important. So,
Puts it in perspective.
Puts it in perspective when the whole experience of black people is being dehumanized. They don't feel pain. They're not sanitary. All these stereotypes that keep spinning around in people's heads, and they're not either not smart enough to check the facts, or they just don't care. Why would I care about that marginalized piece of society? Exactly. It's convenient for them. It's very convenient for them.
Yeah.
None of their friends feel that way. So, if they feel that way, that makes them a radical, and their friends might not like them anymore. And,
Friendship is important. Fitting in is important.
It's insidious. Racism is insidious. The whole saying, for evil to prosper, good men need do nothing. That's why Nazism spread. It's easy to do nothing than to speak out. Had a lot of the Germans spoken out, before World War II, we wouldn't have had World War II. But they were silent. They let their neighbors and their friends be persecuted because they didn't want to be that dissenting voice, because they wouldn't be liked. Then they would be on the outside looking in.
So I heard two things. Listen and act.
Act is important. Act is extremely important. Listening and doing nothing is just doing nothing.
Yeah, because if you're listening, you're seeing it, you're hearing it, you're witnessing it. If you don't do anything, that's almost worse, because now you're actually doing it.
And that's unfortunately, I think I'm sorry that this is the sad point, is that despite everything that's happened, only maybe 1%, 2%, 3% may actually act, and the next thing's going to come along, and all of this will just fall to the side. It just fall to the wayside, almost like it didn't even happen. It'll just be swept over, swept under the rug. All right, we have the election coming up, so that's going to take precedence.
You know that there's a draw. Before there's COVID, and then you've got this little window, but then you have politics.
Yes.
And that's exactly why I didn't want to be on that bandwagon. Like, all right, well, what's hot on social media this week? What should we post? Like, that to me felt kind of gross. And I'm not saying that other people that did that, they actually intentionally did that, but I think that's just human nature. It's like, if they agreed with it, and it's hot, and the animal jumps, tomorrow's another day, another news cycle.
And I know I sounded pessimistic on that, but 3% is better than 0%. 3% getting it and acting and doing things, that is so much better than 0%, because 0% just sucks outright. So I hate to say we'll take what we can get, but unfortunately, that's how things work. It sparks up, and then people forget about it, and they move on to the next thing. The next shiny object out there.
Right.
So,
which is just the nature of news and people's.
And it's just the nature of people. It's just people.
So today is Juneteenth, which is kind of a cool day to be doing this. I mean, I wish we said we planned this, but it was really around Hope's travel schedules that we're on here today. I mean, how cool is it that we're here on this day? And I'll be the first to admit, I didn't really know much about this until about a week ago.
Really? Okay. We're not taught in school. I found out, I had not always known, I had heard about it, and I started going down to Texas about 11 years ago, and huge celebrations in Texas. I spent almost a whole summer down there.
Like a regional thing.
It was a regional thing, so it was celebrated, and it has been celebrated in Texas for years.
Texas is the one that was holding out, right? Isn't that
Correct. Yes. So people definitely celebrate it there. It's on the news. It's known. But the rest of us didn't really know about it. So, how sad.
It's very sad. It's like an American not knowing the 4th of July, or a Mexican American not knowing Cinco de Mayo. But I can say that the law firm that I work for, on Monday, Tuesday, they confirmed that this Juneteenth and every Juneteenth going forward will be a paid holiday for the employees.
awesome? That's so awesome. And there's talk about it becoming a national,
Yeah, Virginia's working on it, as far as I understand. Yes, and federal. I would love. It should be, because
there's a lot of days that we get off, especially in Illinois. That's like, all right, I don't even know who's the Polish one. What's the Polish one?
Casimir Pulaski.
Yeah, so I grew up.
And I'm like, how do we get Casimir Pulaski Day off at schools, but we don't get Juneteenth off?
I mean, I still to this day, I'm sure my ignorance of history, but I don't know who that person is.
He's a Polish Revolutionary War hero.
In the United States? Like, why is that?
I had a teacher in 5th grade who would tell us why we had upcoming days coming off, and we celebrate that some of the suburbs take it, but in the city, my understanding is kids usually have that off, and it's because there are more Polish people in Chicago than are
It is the second largest Polish gathering of citizens outside of Warsaw, if I'm correct. So
Right, so that's why it was celebrated here.
In Wisconsin, it wasn't the thing.
yeah.
We like to go to school every day. Like that's one of the things we like to teach Illinois folk about.
As Badgers, yeah. You know, even though they drum it into you, it doesn't stick.
We're there though. Participation. So that is a great point. Like we talk about maybe the temporariness of the movement, but I do see this one being different.
I'm hearing that. I'm hearing people say, I'm hearing older, younger, white, black, things in between, people saying that it feels, like even like viscerally, physically, it feels different. This time feels different. People are making changes. Monuments are being knocked down. There's small towns where there's very few black people, and people are marching and peacefully protesting. People know that something's wrong. I think the saddest thing is that it took this level of social media for white people to believe us and to hear us. It took us. I kind of think some of the reasons why not much or less has happened with Breonna Taylor, one, because she is a black female. The other part is we don't have video of that. We want to live in our pain. We want to see it. There is an aspect of us that is very masochistic, right? So seeing that and seeing somebody literally be extinguished as if they're nothing. I think seeing that ignited the fire in so many people. You cannot ignore what you saw. I think that hopefully good will come out of that. I think that out of this time being different, we do have it's slow and it should be faster and it takes time. However, there are laws that are being knocked off books. There are monuments coming down. There are changes being made. There's conversations being had. There is reducing funding, which is called defund police. There's all these different things that are starting to happen. And our access to that information is more broadly available. And I love it. I love it. I think it's good.
And I hope more people are just listening, because everyone wants to have an opinion right away, and they want to find ways to structure their.
I think that changes. I know that change is difficult, right? And when something changes that you don't want to change, that you were not expecting to change, happens when people start speaking up for themselves, good, bad, or otherwise. People freak out. When change happens, sometimes you just freak out. I'll take your freaking out, but don't be a racist asshole about it. You can freak out because the world is burning and things are changing, and the world that you expected will never be the same. You can freak out because your black friends that you thought were safe, that never talked about racial stuff, are suddenly starting to say stuff, and it's freaking you out, and you thought that everything was okay. Stop freaking out and just listen.
Do you think in the black community there needs to be more of a message from the hospitality industry, like, hey, we're open for business, like, come.
And yes, and I believe that most bars and restaurants are open for business. However, there's a missing piece, and we need to find something. Young children, young adults, they need to be mentored. They need to be trained. And just expecting everyone to be at this level when some people have never been exposed to certain things, sometimes you have to take out a little bit of time and have a little bit of mentorship in whatever form that is. I'm not saying that necessarily needs to come from the bars or the restaurants, but we need to have foundations and groups and programs where we start exposing young people to hospitality industry.
I think that there may be a negative connotation in the black community about the hospitality industry, because think about it. We were the hospitality industry for hundreds of years before it was an industry, and we kind of got out of it. we kind of got out of it because we didn't want to be servants anymore. We didn't want to serve.
Yeah. All right.
We've done that. But the thing is, we need to move beyond. Maybe we need to be in the management of hospitality. Maybe we need to be the owners of. If we're not going to do this end of it, we need to do the other end of it. But again, the negative connotations that come with being servant, being a servant, being servile, and obsequious, whatever other terms you can think of out of the thesaurus that go with being a servant. That has a negative connotation. We don't want. We've done that. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that anymore.
Because myself, I think it is such a noble profession. I can't think of the name of the movie. Go back to World War II. It was an Italian movie where the Jewish guy was put in a internment camp with his son. I don't know if you guys remember. They had subtitles only, anyways. But
Life is Beautiful.
Life is Beautiful.
Yes.
And in the beginning, it was all about him being like this phenomenal server. Like he'd go to the table and like they didn't want the chicken, and he had to go to the next table and sell the chicken because. And he was like, "This is like a noble profession. Like it's a skill that you can't. It's not about just delivering the food. It was." So, to me, that's how I see service. It's a noble profession. But
it
was something we were forced into.
Right.
I see it as noble because I do it, and I know I do a noble ass job. But really, I mean, my mother did not want me doing it. My father did not want me doing it. It took my mother seeing me doing it. I enjoyed it. I'm good at it.
And she,
I was independent. She saw that I didn't have to rely on anyone else. I mean, I lived at home, but I was able to work and save a little bit of money, go to school. It's not 4-year college, out of state, all the stuff, but I was able to work and not be in massive debt, take care of myself, met good people, travel. She saw the life that I was making for myself out of this servant's career and that I enjoyed it. And she has upgraded me to mixologist. I am just a bartender, okay? I am a server and a bartender. I don't like the fancy words. Do you know my daughter's a mixologist? Do you know that she's a mixologist? My daughter in Chicago, she's been a mixologist for years. She just, like so proud of, like a complete, turnaround in how she thought of me. I don't think that she wanted me to have those shitty experiences. She knew the history of that.
And I also don't want to forget what you guys are going to be doing. Talk with the beer.
Oh yeah. I need Kevin for that because he's been spearheading that. Kevin, come here.
What's the question?
The Black is Beautiful. Explain the Black is Beautiful beer.
Beer. So what they did, Weathered Souls in, I think it's San Antonio, and what they're doing is getting breweries across the country to follow a basic imperial stout recipe. And we can kind of do our own twist to it a little bit, and then brew that beer up, and then sell it. But the proceeds for that beer are going towards whatever foundation or whatever you feel that you want to do it in your local area, and just send that money to there. We're doing it's the
By the Hand Club.
By the Hand Club.
Yes.
So the proceeds of that beer is going to go towards those kids. And I think the thing that we're going to do with it is we're also going to put it in bourbon barrels. So we're going to barrel age it and then do that again. Because I feel like right now it's a hot topic and it's going to continue to be a hot topic, but it just can't stop after things start to dwindle off. So we've got to keep doing it. So when we brew this beer now, we can. So that's the other thing. The label is like a universal label that all the breweries are going to use. So you'll see it across the country, the label, but then you'll see the brewery's logo on the side of the can and where it came from, like it's home. But I think a year or whenever we feel like we want to pull that beer back out of that barrel, we're going to do it again and then sell it as a barrel-aged version of it and then those proceeds again will then benefit the same foundation again longer later on, as opposed to just right now.
Yeah, and they do great work at By the Hand,
Yes, they do. They are in the community. They're Inglewood, they're in Cabrini Green, and they're in Austin.
Yeah.
And I've been in the Inglewood community doing some volunteer work, and they do good work. Hello, Danita Travis. She's the executive director, and I will send her the link to this podcast so that she knows what's coming her way.
We'll tag them. We'll make sure we give them as much press as well. Do you know when that's starting and when it's officially?
We're going to brew it here in the next couple of weeks, and it'll probably, since the Imperial's going to need to sit for a while, so we'll probably get it out in cans in maybe a couple months.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Good for you guys for
All
participating.
right, Kevin's got some customers. He's got to go. Get to work, Kevin. Get to work. Make my money.
Hopefully this is a step that no matter what happened on Blackout Tuesday, it wasn't a fad. This is a sustaining, this has legs to, and TappedIn wants to be a part of this. What's on Tap wants to be a part of this. We're committed to a longer term solution as well, but we're in the listening phase. And so thank you to both for shining a light on your experiences, and we really do appreciate it. You guys give me a lot of insights that I never had. So I appreciate your time, your thoughts, your being open, because obviously this is a sensitive topic.
It is a very sensitive
topic. You don't want to perhaps say a lot of bad things and ruffle feathers. And not that you did, but you've had fortunate experiences.
Yeah, you know what? You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
There we go.
So it's okay. Let's do it. And the thing, and I just want to go back to the act part. It doesn't have to be something majorly demonstrative. A lot of people are afraid to act because they think they have to do it in such a big visual way.
And it has to be, and it feels overwhelming when you take all of that on that way. I agree.
Exactly. So all you have to do, small things, little things, just be kind to anybody. Let's just start with that. Just start with being kind and understanding with anybody, and that's just the start, and just expand from there. Expand with however you're comfortable, but just start with kindness and understanding. That's it. Simple. Anybody can do that.
And I would say, to tag on to what you're saying, sometimes people want to do a little bit more than that. There's social media, there's their internet. Look up. You can start by making a small change. How about you try a new black restaurant? Put that on your date night, or something that you're going to do, or you want to introduce your kids or your family or someone to, something you just personally want to do. Start by going, I don't know, once a week, once a month, once every 2. Start with that.
Outside of River North or Wicker Park.
Yes.
Or even if it is there, how about you go to the one that is black owned? How about you come on out here, pick up a case of beer to take to your cookout, to the baby shower, to whatever. Think of it's you don't have to do much, but change some of your action. Change one thing.
Everyone change one thing. The world takes a huge step.
Yeah.
And that builds momentum.
Start small and work your way up. What are they? What's the saying? How do you eat an elephant?
One bite
at a time. Thank you. I'm glad you guys know that. Yeah, there you go. You guys been here, done that. Yeah, there you go. One bite at a time. That's it.
The sentiment was heard. The experiences have been heard. We appreciate it. Thank you both for your time today.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Hope and Charles, thank you so much for kicking off this series with us. If you want to support Black Horizon Brewing Company, you can find them at blackhorizonbrewing.com or on social media. For more information about the Black is Beautiful collaboration, head over to blackisbeautiful.beer. For more information about By the Hand, go to bythehand.org. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we sit down with Curtis Lott, co-owner and chief operator of Cajun Boil and Bar, and Chef Brian Jupiter, executive chef and partner of Frontier and Ina May Tavern in Chicago. Subscribe now and be notified of the release of future episodes. If anything we talked about sparked an idea, touched a nerve, or you had questions about, we would love to hear from you. Send an email to what'sontapp@gettappedin.io or send a DM to get_tapped on Instagram or Twitter. For more information about what's on tap or tapped in, head over to gettappedin.io. This episode of What's on Tap was hosted by Joe Sheehan, with special guests Hope Johnson and Charles St. Clair, co-founder of Black Horizon Brewing Company. You can find them on Instagram at ShyGirlDrinks and Black_Horizon_Brewing. The show was produced by Joe Sheehan and edited by Rebecca Turley, with voiceover and marketing by Caitlin Cavanaugh. Until next time, cheers.